It can't be my standard. It has to be our standard.
It's prioritizing the relationship over the rules.
If you want to live better, then you're going to stand out.
That is one of the reasons why our kids buy in, is because they see the benefit.
If we want our kids to level up, then we have to level up.
We helped our kids to buy in so that our teens believe in the vision.
The way to make this successful is that we have to be living it. We as the parents have to be living the standard. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Extraordinary Family Life Podcast. We are your hosts, Greg and Rachel Denning.
We're going to be talking about holding standards, holding boundaries for your teens specifically in this question.
Living differently from everybody else around you.
Living differently, and what that actually looks like in the day-to-day, and how you actually do that and uphold it.
If you hold any standard, you're going to be a minority on this planet.
Right.
I mean, let that sink in. It seems kind of cynical, but it's true. There's only about 2% of people who are living to high personal standards.
Right.
Everybody else is just in survival mode, just trying to figure things out. It doesn't make them bad people.
They just go with the flow.
Yeah, they're just rolling along. It's like, what's wrong with that? Everybody's doing it, so might as well do it. But if you want to have world-class health and world-class education, if you want to live differently and better than the majority, you're going to stand out.
Yeah.
And people are going to criticize you, and they're going to criticize your kids.
Exactly.
And so you're going to feel it. Your kids are going to feel it, but it's pretty obvious. The standard of mediocrity just keeps lowering down. And so if you want any kind of standard, if you want to live a great life, you're going to stand out.
Which is not, depending on the person, that's not necessarily a quote unquote good thing, especially to a teenager who wants to fit in. The fact that you and your family stand out is not necessarily always comfortable. So that's why.
And therein lies the problem, which we'll talk about today.
Yeah, it's a real thing. And it is something we have also felt and dealt with. We've had to come to terms with it, and we've had to help our teenagers come to terms with it. We've now had 5 teenagers. We're on our 5th teenager, and it's a real thing. So how do we do this? How do we hold up these high standards? How do we live at a different level and still be able to communicate that to our child in a way where they don't feel like we're the controlling, horrible, worst parent ever, because we're not doing everything else. We're not letting them do everything else that everyone else is doing, right? There's a couple of things I want to emphasize here. And this is something I've been feeling you and I, Greg and I, have to do better at communicating to people, our coaching clients, the podcast episode, our podcast audience. I feel in some ways we have been misunderstood, and of course it's our own fault, that to many people we come across as very controlling, strict parents. And the irony is, when people actually meet us in person, we are not controlling and we are not strict. We are actually very flexible and very free-flowing in a way, right?
And our kids have never rebelled or fought back, or I don't remember any instance where our kids are ever saying, "You guys are so controlling," or even "You're too strict." They've never said that.
True.
So it's the way we implement it.
Yes.
So set the standard, have the value, have the big goals, then it's the implementation piece. And that's where either the kids go along or they start to fight it and they resist it. It's how it's implemented.
Often we have issues with our children buying in to our family vision or dream when we failed to communicate to them why it matters, why it's so important. So as we talk about this idea of having higher standards that we live by as a family, we have had to be very, very, very good at communicating the passion, the reason, the motivation, the why behind it all, so that our children actually bought into it. And so, if we had to end this podcast episode right now and tell you what the thing is, this would be it. We helped our kids to buy in so that our teens believe in the vision. That is why they don't rebel against it. That's why they don't feel that we're too controlling. That's why they don't fight it.
So said another way, instead of parents choosing and setting a standard and then enforcing that in their families, which is what most people do. What
Mm-hmm.
we tried to do early on is this: we think, well, I'm the parent, so I set a standard or a rule and then I enforce it.
Well,
But that doesn't work.
because what happens, and we know because we've gone through this process and we've helped our teens go through the process, but what happens in a lot of families is the parents individually or as a couple get some sort of enlightenment, understanding, vision of, wow, this is why this is bad and this is better. We want to live this way. We want to do things this way. And they may share that with each other, but a lot of parents fail to communicate that to their children. So going back to this idea,
Or
that's
they might
where
just tell them, well, I told my kids I want them to have a world-class education.
they told them
Yeah.
and they thought, well, I've told you why. But communicating, convincing, it's a process,
Yep.
right?
You want your children to come to you and say, hey, the neighbors, my friends or cousins, they do that. What's the deal?
Right.
That is exactly what you
Yes.
want to have happen.
This is very normal for your child, your teen to be saying, well, you're so controlling. What they're actually trying to say is, help me understand why you have these rules and the rest of my friends and their
Don't.
families don't.
And especially because, the vast majority of us still operate on first level thinking. You,
Hmm.
you just see what's right at the surface. And so your teens just look and like, well,
They're having fun.
yeah,
They've got a great life.
what's the deal
There's
here?
nothing wrong with them.
Like they have a big house, they're eating junk food, they're playing video games. Like, why am I missing
Right.
out here? Like, what gives?
Why is this a bad
Yeah,
thing here, right?
exactly.
And so you do. So you have to take them to the next level of thinking where they begin to put together the pieces of like, well, yeah, but look where this goes. But if you look at people who end up in, like a drug addict, where did they start? They started here. A porn addict. Most porn addicts had some connection to some sort of other addiction like video games
Yep.
before they got to porn. You and I, having worked with so many people and done so much research, we're able to see those patterns and where they lead. And so we're able to show the patterns to our children, whether from the research or the books we've read,
Or
or
in real
even in
life
the real
experience.
life
Yeah.
experiences of people we know around us.
And this happens, well, we've been doing this since they were little.
Yeah.
And this is the point I want to emphasize so much today. It can't be my standard that I enforce on my kids. It has to be our standard.
Mhm.
I want this high standard I want my kids to take ownership of the high standard. I want it to be theirs. That's the golden ticket, because then they will never accuse you and me of being controlling
Exactly.
or demanding or weird or ridiculous or crazy or whatever, because the standard is theirs. 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old saying, oh no, I never put that crap in my body. I will not put that garbage in my mind. I will not waste my life and my time doing dumb things.
Right.
When it's their standard,
Mhm.
they're unstoppable.
Right.
Like, I don't have to enforce anything.
Yeah. There's no enforcing of quote unquote rules, because it's not our rule.
Right.
You and I have discovered and learned through a lot of study that there are rules and laws that apply to every single thing in life. There's rules of health. There's rules of mental and emotional health, and as well as physical health. There's rules of success. There's rules of abundance. Every
We can even
single
call them
thing.
laws too.
Yeah. Yeah. Every single thing that any of us want in life has a law that you have to obey.
Yep.
If you want to achieve success in that area. So for us, it's very much the same way. We could complain about gravity, or we can learn how to work with gravity, right? And when we learn how to work with it and obey the law of gravity, then you can do all kinds of things. You can jump, you can fly, you can do a lot of stuff, but you have to learn how to work with it. To me, it's the same thing. We've learned what the laws are to all the different areas of life. And then all we're doing is communicating that to our children the best way we know how. So it becomes this third party thing. So it's not you or I enforcing rules that we have created on our children. It's simply we're saying, hey guys, we figured out there's this law. We've discovered it. I mean, we didn't discover it ourselves. We, came to the realization there's this law. If we live in harmony with this law, this is the outcome. If we don't, this is the outcome. Let's live in harmony with this law and do these things so we can get the outcomes we
Yep.
want. It becomes very much a external thing rather than a enforced
Right. So it's
rule
not
by the parent.
us versus them, parents versus
Exactly.
kids. And, oh, we're fighting everybody and their whole world. It's like, no, no. Hey, step back. Like, no, you got to make your choice. So we say this to our kids. We
Yeah.
have since they're very little. Who do you want to be? What kind of life do you want to live? What kind of person do you want to be? And here are the outcomes. And we've given them so many endless examples. So we're just constantly doing this and teaching the principle, telling stories, and then they observe themselves. And they'll come back and they'll be like, guess what? They'll go on a trip. They'll go somewhere and they're like, okay, we observed this thing. We heard this thing. And here's the
Well, and sometimes they even did it themselves. They've gone to spend time with family members or friends where they spent the whole week playing video games and eating junk food. And at the end of it, they are the ones coming back to us and saying, "Oh my
That was
gosh,
horrible.
I felt like crap. Like it was so terrible. I can't wait. I could not wait to get back to eat our food and to spend my time productively because I now know through experience it feels so much better."
Yep.
Right?
It's just such a waste of time in life. And they feel the difference.
Mhm.
So to emphasize, the way to make this successful is that we have to be living it. We as the parents have to be living the standard, because if we don't live the message, we suck as the messenger. Hey there, this is Greg Denning. We want to reach as many people as possible and help as many families as possible with these conversations. And we want to keep this podcast ad-free forever. You can help us do that by subscribing on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen, your favorite platform, and on YouTube. And leave a quick review and share your favorite episodes with friends and family. It makes a big difference. Thank you for being a part of this very important movement. So if my life is boring, dull, unfulfilling, uninspiring, why would they listen to me? Why would I be able to persuade them to have a high standard if they look at me like, man, Dad, you're so boring and your life is so lame. Like, why would I want your life? Why would I? And they're not going to think through this cognitively. It's all subconscious. Just like, why would I listen to you? Why would I give credibility to what you're saying when you're such a lame person?
Right.
Or you don't have the results, or you're not actually living it. So if I'm out of shape and I'm unhealthy and I'm telling my kids they should eat healthy food, they're gonna be like,
Why?
you're such a hypocrite, right?
What's the benefit? What's the point?
Right.
Because that is a main selling point to this approach, is that there has to be obvious benefits to doing what you do. And that is one of the reasons why our kids buy in, is because they see the benefits. They feel the benefits of living this way, of living by the standards. And so at some point it becomes a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It becomes something that is so obvious to them because they begin to see and feel the benefits. Now, I want to clarify something really fast because there's like 3 or 4 points here I want to reemphasize. But before I do that, I want to clarify. You guys might be saying like, wow, you're so judgmental. Here you are looking at just everybody around you and talking about them and about what they eat and what they do and all this and thinking you're better than them. And so I want to clarify that that is not the spirit in which it's done.
Yeah.
We are very loving people. We love people. Obviously, there's people we don't like. That's normal. Like C.S. Lewis said, people are like vegetables. You don't have to like them all. But the point is, we are observing behavior and outcomes. We're talking about behavior and outcomes. We're not saying that guy's a fat slob because he eats donuts, but we'll say, oh, well, he's awesome. He's a great person. But if you continue to eat a diet like that, this is the outcome.
Mhm.
It's almost a separate, independent thing from the person itself.
Yeah, we strive to be extremely objective.
Right.
Like, look at the behavior. Well, so I've been teaching this for years. Like, tell me your habits and I'll tell you your future.
Right.
And you can see a person's habits. And once you do this so long, now I can look at a person and I can tell them their habits. I can predict what their habits are with tremendous accuracy.
Right.
Because it's a formula. It's those laws you were talking
The
about
laws.
before.
Yeah.
And so we're doing that in that spirit.
Yes.
I was actually doing some thinking this morning on this same thing, this idea of justice and mercy, and being so patient and compassionate with people as they're struggling with their own weaknesses. on one hand, and on the other hand, just saying, no, man, the law is the law. The habit is the habit. You do it or you don't.
Well, it's
Like,
like gravity. Gravity doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about if you're a good person or not. I
right.
mean, gravity just operates no matter what. And many of us don't realize, I mean, this changed my life when I understood this. Many of us don't realize that that is happening in every level of our life.
Yep.
It's happening mentally, emotionally, physically, in our marriage, in our parenting. It's all governed by law. And many of us aren't aware of those laws. That's why we keep falling, failing, messing up, falling on our face. It's like we don't understand gravity and we keep tripping over things, falling down. We're like, why does this keep
It
happening?
seems so difficult,
Yeah,
but once we understand what's happening, then it's just aligning ourselves with the laws.
exactly. Right. Okay. So there's like 3 or 4 things here. We've talked about a couple of them. One of them, of course, is going back to it's not this idea of being very strict and controlling. It's prioritizing the relationship over the rules. Like I want to, in fact, I don't think we touched on this enough. I want to reemphasize that because we're not just about having these high standards and high rules and you
In
better
fact,
fall in
we have
line.
very few rules. Maybe it's semantics,
Yeah,
but we don't have a lot of rules. We don't like, this is our rule. This is, my way or the highway under my roof. You follow my rules. We don't ever do that.
right.
We never have done that. So we have standards.
Yeah,
It's like, well, here's the standard and here's why. And our kids have always like, oh, yeah, I totally get it.
yes.
They've bought in.
But even underlying that is we're prioritizing the relationship with each of our children. We are bonding with them, we're attaching with them. Again, there's a lot of different words you can use. We're connecting. We're building deep relationships of trust with each child, which is the foundation of being able to have any standards. Like our children know above all that we love them. And because of that, they trust us. The foundation of this all is unconditional love. Love is not something you earn. It's not something you get after you've done XYZ. Unconditional love is the foundation. Now, I think where this can get challenging for people to understand is because there's still a nuance there. You can have unconditional love, but you also have to have conditions for certain things and
100%.
certain
And
relationships.
boundaries and standards.
In many ways, to me, the conditions are very similar to the laws of, like, say, gravity.
So we can have massive amounts of love, infinite love, even unconditional love, but we must, absolutely must still hold standards and boundaries.
Yes. Ultimately, especially with children, and yes, especially with very young children, unconditional love is the foundation.
Yep.
Like, there's no judgment about whether the child deserves your response when they cry because you are their provider. You have to respond to them if you want to build a relationship of trust.
Yep.
So that's where I'm going back to here is underneath all of this, underneath us holding standards and boundaries is the basis of unconditional love of our children that was built from the time they were young. So that's the foundational piece. And we're building on that, prioritizing and I'm saying it this way intentionally, the relationship over the rules. So that's a piece to look at as you're trying to sort this out is like, are you prioritizing the relationship with the child enough more than the rule? Because where we can get into trouble is if we hold the standards so firmly that it damages the relationship, if that makes sense.
And I guess I want to point out that because you bring this up, and even in my own mind, I'm guessing some of the listeners who's like, wait, how is this related?
You're right.
How is you talking about the relationship? We're here talking about standards. Like, how do we hold standards and not have our kids fight against them and like dislike us? And they're like, you start talking about relationship. Like, what are you talking about? Where does this line up? It's inside a phenomenal relationship that it's easy to hold a high standard.
Yes.
When the relationship is absolutely fantastic, they like you, they trust you, they listen to you, they
admire you, they respect you, they want to model you.
yes, so they're teachable.
Yes.
So when you say, here's a standard we hold and this is why, they listen and they say, got it. I'm in. Where if the
So
relationship,
much easier.
yeah, but if the relationship is strained
Exactly.
and I've been distant or distracted or
I don't pay attention.
preoccupied with
I
other
don't
things,
listen.
I'm not
I don't spend
interested in
time with
what they're
you.
doing, and I don't spend time with them. And even when I'm with them, I'm not really with them. And when they mess up, I get very angry. So then when I say, this is our standard, he's like, whatever, go jump in a lake.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like, and this is why he's like, blah, blah, blah.
I think that even what you just touched on right there, because that's another thing another thing I mean when I'm talking about I value the relationship over the rule. Because even though I have very strong or high standards around things like no video games or no sugar in our house, if and when the kids mess up, because they will. I don't get angry at them and upset at them and damage the relationship because of their mistake. That's what I mean by value the relationship over the rules. I will reinvest in the relationship, and I can also get very passionate about the rule, but they're separated. My passion is not directed towards the child in punishing or disciplining them.
Right.
My passion is on, which then goes into the next thing I want to emphasize. It goes into the conviction about why this rule matters to
Yep.
me, why this standard is important. And you can ask my kids because they've heard me over the years. One of the reasons we have very high standards around food is because the week you and I met, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, and within 2 years, he passed away. And as a result, including the fact that my mother remarried and then my stepfather died from cancer, I am very passionate about food and like the quality of health and nutrition because that directly contributes to chronic diseases like that. So that's where the second piece here is control versus conviction. I'm not going for control. I'm not trying to control my children because like you said, I want it to become theirs. I want them to own it. And so the passion and the energy goes into conviction and convincing
And conversion.
and converting
Yeah.
rather than in controlling.
Yes, yes,
and or
yes.
disciplining.
That framework you just said that's the ticket.
Yes.
So instead of putting all your energy, emotion, passion, frustration, whatever,
Yes.
into correction, put it into conversion
Yes.
or conviction. Because the
Mhm.
goal isn't to make the children do what you want, it's to get them to want it for themselves.
Exactly.
Because if the child wants it as much as you do, then you don't have to be around.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it.
Right.
Like they take off and they go out with their friends or peers or they go to some new place. I don't have to worry about it
Right.
at all
Mhm.
because the standards we hold in our family are theirs. It's not mine. Like they're going to be an influence for good where they're going instead of me worrying that they'll keep
Yes.
my standards because
Exactly.
I'm not there to punish them if they do or to remind them, right? But I guess I want to keep emphasizing that. If that's the system we set up of implementation is it's my standard and I enforce it, then I have to be there their whole
Right.
life.
Yeah. And they are going to feel controlled.
Yep.
And that is not what you want. You don't want your children to feel like they're controlled by your standards. You want them to have their own standards that dictate their
Yeah,
behavior.
exactly. And even I think in a way we want the standard to be independent of us.
Yeah, like I was talking about before.
This isn't my standard.
It's the third party, it's the
Right.
outside external
It's
law.
like, no, this is just what you do to become healthy and
Exactly.
wealthy and happy.
Yeah.
And so the kid's like, because otherwise the kids think they're fighting you.
Yes.
They're like, this is your dumb rule. You're the only one in the neighborhood
Nobody else
who
is
does
doing
it.
it.
And I don't know why. And I really resent you right now. And they even say words, I hate you. You're the worst. And at that point, you're like, whoa, this isn't my rule. This is
Yeah.
this is a universal law. If you do those things, you get those results. So this isn't mine. I didn't make that up.
Right. And so it's almost like, and we've said, Dirk, if you want those results, you're welcome to choose to do those things. That's up to you. You're the one that has to decide what you actually want from your life. And so, in this whole idea of control versus conviction, you have to get very specific about the why. Why does this matter? Why do you have the standard? Why should they have the standard? And if you don't know, if you're just like, oh, I thought this is a good idea, or it's because the Dennings said so on their podcast, Like, you have to discover your why. And then the next level is you have to be able to articulate that why to your teens and children.
So effectively that people, even people who disagree with you, are like, okay, that makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, that
Now,
makes sense. If you remove control and replace it with conviction, naturally that process is going to involve children experimenting. They're going to go to their friends and play video games. They're going to go eat junk food. But we have always held a very clear standard of like, okay, don't bring that into our house, even to the point that if our kids did bring sugar in or something, we just throw it in the garbage because we're like, oh, oops,
well,
someone brought some garbage
or
in.
we have
Throw
them
it away.
say, hey, you know right where that belongs. Yeah, where that goes.
Right.
So let
And we
me,
make it playful and fun, but it's like, this isn't allowed in our house.
right. And I think that's important too. So it's playful, it's fun, it's lighthearted. We can hold a standard and we can even correct and
We can
discipline
say, if you want to eat that,
pleasantly.
and they would do that sometimes. They're like, oh, I better eat this before I get home because it's not
Yeah,
allowed in
yeah.
the house, right?
And so I want to give some helpful strategies here, or at least share what has worked for us and what we would do. If we were living in a neighborhood where our kids wanted to hang out with the friends in the neighborhood and they wanted to play video games, I would say, as an example, I'm going to start getting very, very deliberate and strategic about creating experiences that are way better than video games.
Yes. So I think this ties into this third element I really want to talk about. You already touched on it when you talked about living a boring life. It's this idea that if you're going to live a different standard, if you're going to have a different way of living, it needs to be
Better.
more attractive than the other option.
Yep.
So if playing video games is more exciting than your life, you're to blame for that.
There's your problem.
And so that's always been a key piece. If our children were bored because they didn't get to play video games, we said, wow, our life is boring. We need to do something about it. And so, as you were just talking about, you became very intentional about, and if necessary, not just enticing our children into more exciting activities, but
Their
the
friends.
friends too.
So this is what I would be doing. I would deliberately start making hanging out with the Dennings so amazing that even their friends are like, dude, no, forget the video games. Let's go with your dad on another epic adventure. Or let's go to your house. Like, I want everybody at my house.
Right.
And I'm going to feed them. And it's going to be expensive, but I'm going to feed them delicious, nutritious food. And they're going to come over and be like, bro, how can this be healthy? It is so good.
Which
right?
many people have said to us whenever they come, they're like, wow,
we've been doing this for
healthy
years
food.
and years and years. They're like, we love eating at your house. I'm like, yeah, and it's healthy for you. We're going to be doing such cool things. Now, is this going to cost me money? 100%.
Yes.
Is it going to cost me time and effort? Absolutely. But we are going to be skateboards, rollerblades,
Throwing axes.
yes,
archery.
exactly.
Unfortunately, for too many people, and I understand because we've been there, it's so much easier and cheaper to just let them play the video games. Because you buy the video game once or the console or whatever, and yeah, it's an investment, quote unquote, but then they get to play it all the time. And
Yep.
that's easier. It takes less planning. It takes less work. It doesn't cost you more money to instead go to the trampoline park or the water park. But
Well-
that's what it is required. That's what it costs. And it's worth it. If that's what it costs to keep your kids entertained and no, not keep them entertained, keep them engaged
Yes.
in the real world, it is worth every cent. And trust me, we know.
Yep.
We have lived by this. We have put our money where our mouth is and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on epic experiences all around the world. And yet that has convinced our children, it is invested in them so that they understand, yeah, this is better.
They
It's a
think
better way
life,
of living.
life is way better than a video game.
Exactly.
Way better.
Right.
But okay, let's bring it back down. Let's bring the dollars way back down. Here's a very real scenario that happens at our place all the time. So again, what we're sharing with you guys is things we are doing. We have done for years and are doing. So we're not going to tell you to do something that we haven't done a lot.
Well, when we're talking about conviction, you have to be so convinced yourself of this higher standard, this higher way of living, that you're willing to invest time, energy, money, effort into doing it. Because, yeah, are there other things you or I could be doing? Absolutely. There are. But we choose to make this investment in time so that our children feel the benefit of living at this higher standard.
Yep.
If you and I preached all of this and then did our own things and didn't hang out with them and didn't spend time working out with them or playing games, then they'd be like, well, I'm bored. Yeah, I'm going to play games or play video
So
games.
if I'm trying to parent from the couch,
Yeah,
my option are they're to yell and discipline
right. And control.
and control, right? Don't do that. Oh, there's a
Yes.
consequence. It's because I'm trying to parent from the couch.
Right. So whenever our children have brought up those objections, we viewed that as an opportunity, one, to have a conversation, to articulate the conviction, the why, and two, to strategize how can we be more intentional about making the real world fun or real food delicious or, whatever the standard is. Okay, so I think that those are the main points we want to emphasize, that it's not more about the relationship than the rules. That's the foundation, of course. But you can't also have all relationship and no rules. There needs to be standards. There needs to be boundaries. Like, that is a necessary
Please.
part.
Like, I plead with you, please have very, very high standards in your family.
Yeah. It's true.
Please do that. Don't make them rules. Don't make them just yours and you enforce them. You're not the police. You're not the government.
You're not the creator of the rules.
You're the teacher. Yeah, you're out finding the highest standards across time
The
and space and
laws.
culture and religion. You're like, what are the highest laws? Let's live by those. And
Mhm.
then you become the teacher and the mentor and the coach.
Yes.
And you become so persuasive that
Instead of controlling,
maybe the essence of parenting, of great parenting, is persuading your children to take ownership of their own high standards. I mean,
Yes.
if I could boil it down to the essence of phenomenal parenting, it's getting your kids to own, even as part of their identity, the highest standards possible in life. That is phenomenal parenting.
Yes. So it's not focusing on control or punishment or discipline in order to keep those standards, but it's focusing on convincing and conviction with passion about why those standards matter and why they would be important for you as a family to pursue, but more importantly, as an individual to pursue, so that it becomes their own.
Live the message.
Yeah.
And it's worth it. Oh my goodness. It's more effort, more work. It's also so much more rewarding.
Yes.
And I think, oh, yes, it requires some discipline and mastery and habits and systems. Like, it's so worth it. Life is so much better when we're striving to be the best version of ourselves. Okay, thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Thanks for loving on your kids and being willing to strive and level up and do the work to be phenomenal parents. It's worth every effort. You guys, parenting is tough. Man, it's the most rewarding occupation there is. Period. It is so awesome and so worth every effort. So love on yourself today. Celebrate the good things you're doing, and on your love on your spouse and your kids. Go tell them how much you love them, how proud you are of them, and lean in. Set those standards this week, and really start focusing on how you can be more convincing and converting to the high standards. Love you guys. Reach upward.